This is Boxing Tickets, and we're delighted to be joined with one of Ireland's newest professional boxers, Cian Reddy. How are you, Cian?
Good, yeah, all going well. Yeah, thanks very much for having me on.
It's my pleasure. I've sort of I've a good close relationship with obviously your manager, obviously Ian Gallagher, and he'd sort of been telling me for months that sort of this was happening. I guess probably more so for me and even for you. You were sort of counting down days before you could say, I'm obviously now a professional boxer. So is it sort of now a relief that everything's out there in the open and you can tell everybody you're now a pro?
Yeah, I suppose so. For the last few months, I kind of knew a few people close to me knew, and then other people around started to find out kind of. But yeah, it's good to have it out there now, and just I can fully focus now on training because I have everything done, all my medicals and everything you need to have done to fight is all done. So I can just focus now on training and getting ready for a fight.
I guess obviously, with social media nowadays, you're posting up, you're in different gyms and everything else like that. And I guess sometimes as a fan of the sport and sort of trying to keep an eye on news, even though I knew sort of in the background that Ian was saying that you were signing pro with him and you're seeing you in different gyms, for somebody that follows you, they probably could merely guess that you were sort of going pro, or you were sort of going about different gyms, getting different experience. It probably didn't take too much for people to work out you were going to go pro.
Yeah, I was over in Manchester late last year. My uncle lives over there, and it was just after I'd won the Celtic Cup. Um, just we were over there just for a few days. But I was still training because at the time I was training for the elites, so I was training. But I did have an idea about going pro, and I always knew I wanted to go pro. So I trained. Did a couple of days in Jamie Moore's gym. Couple of days with Matthew Hatton and a few days with Anthony Crawlin, three absolutely top class gyms, and the the boys were just so accommodating towards me. Like they took me on like one of their own, and I remember I'll never forget. I was doing pads with Nigel Travis in Jamie Moore's gym, and Chantel Cameron who was just standing there like kind of waiting for her turn. I was like, I kind of felt a bit uncomfortable. I was like, do you want to go? You have a big fight coming up. And she was like, no, you're on it first. Like, you work away. So I was like, wow, that's class like that. But yeah, I've been training over there in them couple of gyms, but I had a cut and I didn't really get to spar or prepare properly for the elites. Um, yeah, because of the cut, really. So it was hard to kind of go in knowing that I hadn't fully prepared. So I just decided, look, I've had plenty of amateur fights, plenty of experience, good sparring, good tough fights and tough spars. So let's have a go at the pros. So that's what I'm doing now. Yeah.
And obviously, anybody as a sort of bring on for the first time always sort of like to know a bit of the backstory. Obviously, how you sort of got to this stage. Like, was there any sort of is boxing within the family? Obviously, what got you into boxing first and foremost?
And nobody ever has boxed in my family or anything like that. when I was about 10 or 11, I moved primary schools, and one of my friends' fathers was a coach in Portlaoise. And I used to do a little bit of kickboxing and taekwondo, but that was more so. I did compete as a kid, but it was more so really just to get out of the house and to be doing something like it. And then my friend, he pulled me. I used to play the Xbox and stuff. Like I was a real gamer kid, and I remember he said to me, "Come on, you're coming to the gym. My dad's outside." I was like, "Right, come on." So I think I put a pair of swimming shorts on and I went and we hit the bags and did a bit of training, and I really started to like it. And even though I think I got my head punched in for the first while, but I seen progress after a while. I seen a bit of progress after a couple of months training, and that kind of became like an addiction in a sense to see yourself progressing. It wasn't, and none of it happened overnight. Like it wasn't overnight. I was like, wow, I'm after getting better since yesterday. I was like, I'm doing a bit better than I was last week, or I'm doing a bit better than I was last month, and I'm feeling fitter, and then it kind of just stuck with me since then, and I stayed at it. Just stayed consistent with it since. I never took any breaks or anything like that, and I think I was 10, just almost 11 when I started. So I just stuck with it, and that's really how I got into it, and been doing it ever since.
Isn't guess anybody sort of listening and stuff like that as well. It's not everything. It's life. Not everything's easy to come by, but like boxing's one of them sports, and I've never competed to a big level myself. I've only sort of had a couple of sort of fights, sort of nearly within classmates fights. But boxing's obviously the most brutal sport, the most dangerous sport in the world. But there's just something about the sport of boxing that something just clicks, and obviously in Ireland, obviously it's probably our most successful sport ever. Like growing up, obviously 10, 11 years of age, obviously in boxing, like did that really sort of bode you into the person you sort of are now?
100%. Yeah, I think boxing it's a great lesson for life for a start. Like you meet all people from all walks of life, dealing with all different cultures. You get to travel, you get to meet so many different people, and I really believe, yeah, it taught me a lot of life lessons from a young age. And you lose sometimes when you feel like you haven't lost, but that's life. You know what I mean? And I really do believe that everybody should have a go at boxing. You don't have to compete at a high level, but just that feeling of getting in, hitting the bags or hitting the pads, it's just it's something everybody has to experience, in my opinion. If they can, So that, yeah, I really believe boxing has helped me as a person.
When you sort of, I guess from what we can see, sort of from BoxRec, obviously a record, you've obviously experienced defeat, obviously as an amateur. Obviously, probably as you say, there's obviously ones you probably should have won and things like that. Like obviously dealing with defeat, obviously as an amateur, did it get easier sort of over time? Obviously, because you're not Vasily Lomachenko, you only like one or two defeats as an amateur. How did you sort of cope with defeat as an amateur? Was it the early days? Was it tough to take, and then you get used to it, where it wasn't a loss, it was learning?
I think, to be honest, I think it was the opposite. I think I dealt with it easier as a child than I did when I got older. It felt harder to deal with as I got older. Because when you're a kid, if you lose a fight, it's just, oh, I lost. What can you do? That get back in the gym. But as an adult, it got harder for me. But that's because I got more competitive, and it got more serious to me. So I lost in five. I remember losing my first national final, and one of my dad's friends was there to support me, and he said, "Don't worry about it, son." He he said I lost my first five before I won one, and I remember saying to him, as I think I was 11 or 12 in the cadet final, I remember saying to him, "If I lose five finals, I won't be boxing anymore." I remember saying that to him, but I did. I lost in five national finals, and every year it got harder. Like I wasn't, but the losses, the wins make up for the losses, if that makes sense. Because people always say, "What's the best thing about boxing?" and the worst thing about boxing, and I'd always say, very very simple to me: winning is the best part, and losing is the worst. So
Like,
yeah.
like obviously when I look through sort of what we can see, obviously of your amateur record, it's probably fair to say that probably Brandon McCarthy is probably your biggest nemesis as an amateur.
Yeah, we boxed. I don't know. I think four times. I think he beat me when we boxed, but yeah, he won. He won, and there were some good fights in there. But look at Brandon's amateur pedigree as well. He's, I think, 16 or 17 national titles. So I was right there as an amateur with the best of them. You know what I mean? So yeah.
When you say obviously, as you got older, sort of some of the defeats got harder. Was it more that sort of you fall in love with the sport, sort of the people you sort of followed in the sport and things like that as well? Is that what made it tougher? Obviously, because the passion for the sport was growing bigger. That whenever defeat was happening, as you were going on, it was like, what's going on? Probably frustration stuff kicks in. You're going, I'm putting all this training, putting all the hard work in, and I just can't get the luck of the green. Was that what it sort of felt like?
It was a bit of that, and it was a bit of me having higher expectations for myself. I like, nobody wants to ever be number two. So if you're right there and you're taking them losses, like it's tough because you don't want to be number two. And like I said, yeah, it does get tougher. Like, it felt tougher because I was more competitive as an adult than I was as an 11 or 12-year-old, and it got more serious to me. And if I ever took a loss, it was tougher because you don't want to be number two. Yeah.
Sort of, within sort of the Irish national sort of setup, you didn't have sort of maybe have a lot of experience, but you obviously you boxed in over 20 countries around the world. Like that experience obviously counts for quite a lot. Obviously, you've seen different cultures, different styles in the way people fight. So is it probably fair to say coming into the professional game, you're sort of well suited, you've sort of seen everything there sort of is you see about boxing?
Well, I don't know if I've seen everything there is to see about boxing. I'm learning every day. Between the professionals and amateurs, like I've sparred an unbelievable amount of top professionals from national champions like in the professional game to world champions. Like me and TJ were sparring when I was 16, 17, and I have a message from him and it said, make sure and stick at it, King, because I can see something in you. I think you're going to go far, and just stay consistent with it. And I did that. So now it's just time to prove some people right and some people wrong. But yeah, I got a lot of amateur experience. Like I went to Scotland, I beat the Scottish elite champion. Poland, I beat the Polish elite champion. You know, this type of thing. Like I had a lot of success in international tournaments. It was unfortunate that I didn't get that as much as I felt I could have in the nationals. But it's since I've turned professional now, and looking at turning professional for the last few months has been a big motivator for me to know, like, I have something to prove. I have something on my back in a way, and I'm going to prove to people who believe in me right, and try to prove to people who didn't believe in me wrong. So that's a massive motivation for me.
I guess obviously sometimes when obviously maybe had, like the likes of Brandon, obviously there, an amateur setup and you're sort of having to sort of play second fiddle to them. Sometimes it's very hard to get that Irish sort of experience. But I say when you're saying when you're obviously boxing elite champions all around the world, you sort of you built that experience sort of from your own bat, sort of rather having someone to force you into it, sort of, in the way of a tournament and things. So in some ways it's probably set you up just as well.
Yeah, I suppose so, because I was looking at my record book not long ago, and I probably have about 40% of my fights being international fights. So even though I wasn't on that national squad as much as an amateur, like I was still getting that international experience, regardless. And I had plenty of tough, like when you go, you're not boxing like I said this on my last interview, but when you go abroad into these different international tournaments, you're not just boxing their regular level club boxers. Like they're matching you with their number ones, twos, like they're national level boxers. So every fight you have at international level is going to be a hard fight. So to go to them countries, win them gold medals or them medal, any medal is setting you right for the professional game. And I felt like that was done. And then over the last maybe couple of years, I've been sparring with a lot of the top professionals in Ireland too. Like I've sparred with Gary Cully there. We're in the same gym in Unit 3 at the minute. Sparring again tomorrow actually. Sparred Sean McComb, who was right there, like he should have won that fight. Like it just goes to show you the decisions can go against you at the top level as well. So I had that 8-2 from McComb. I think one of the judges did as well. So just like they're just some of the names I've sparred. Tyrone, McCenna, I've sparred David Oliver Joyce, and all them tough spars and pro spars. Even though at the time I didn't know if I was gonna ever like go. I did always think I was gonna go pro, but I was still set on the amateurs. But they were getting me ready. You know what I mean? They were. I was learning off them spars, and yeah.
Like obviously, I know you're going to be linked between obviously Unit 3 and obviously Leeds. Like your coach, actually Wayne Woods in Leeds, you actually fought one of his fighters, obviously as an amateur, and I think I think from something I'd read online, you gave obviously his fighter probably one of the toughest fights he's ever had. You dropped him and sort of lost a sort of close decision. It's weird how boxing works in a way where you've obviously boxed one of his fighters. He's seen the talent you have, and now he's going to be involved with you in the professional setup.
Yeah, it was mad how we actually met, because I didn't really speak to him that at that time, but we two of us were on holiday in Tenerife, and to make a long story short, he was trying to organize sparring for Tom Zanetti, who's the DJ or music artist in England, and he's from Leeds too. And I just finished sparring in Tenerife. I was training for either the under 22s or the elite championships. And he says, "Is there anyone here that'll spar with him?" And I put up my hand. I said, "I'll spar him." Like, and he said, "No, you're not sparring him." Like, because he knew who I was because he remembered me boxing his lad. And then a few days later, he messaged me. He's like, "Right, come on, we're going sparring." So that's how we met. And ever since then, we've been, apart from being a really good coach, he's been a really good friend. Like, he's taken me into his house. And I was there last weekend, and he threw his daughter out of the house for the weekend. He has a caravan. He made her stay in the caravan, and I took the room. I said, "When I would have stayed in the caravan, like, you know." But he's been a really good friend and coach to me. And so yeah, it's mad the way boxing works. But that's just another example of how you can meet some of the best people in your life through boxing, which I really believe I have. It's another massive advantage to the sport.
And obviously, tell me, obviously, with the link up, then obviously be turning pro, you're going to be split between obviously Naas and obviously Leeds. Is it more so that obviously when you fight news, you maybe go to Leeds, or what way will it sort of work?
Exactly, yeah. So at the minute, I train every day of the week in Naas. I just take one day a week off. Other than that, I'm up there with Airijus, or I've been with Niall, Barrett for the last few months. We do the sessions up there, and then for the last, I've been over to Leeds a few times. I was getting some more quality sparring over there, sparring with Ellis Price, last Monday, who's just about to make his debut as well in Dave Caldwell's gym. Sparred with Corey O'Regan, who's 11-0. So just getting that work over there as well. And as soon as I can confirm a guaranteed fight day, I'll be over there a bit more, and we'll be able to. He'll be over here. We'll be working it that way, and between Unit 3 and him, they set the training programs for any session, like a running session or that at home, or if I'm trying to work as well, and I just follow the plan, and that's really it. Yeah, so it's been working so far, and I've been seeing improvements. So I'm very happy with the progress, and just continue to progress.
And I guess obviously now that you're going to be sparring, obviously, you've sparred obviously pros for obviously quite a few years, but obviously now when you're sparring them, you like obviously the experience you build up from that, obviously you can't buy. Now when you're getting the spars, and obviously it's probably not from just sort of being there as a sparring partner for them, but trying to be competitive sort of to the degree where you're trying to learn things off them at the same time while not trying to get punched.
Absolutely, yeah. Every spar is competitive. You learn something sparring every different sparring partner that you spar, especially these high level lads, because they are getting you ready more than anything, like, you know what I mean. But every spar to me, I try and take something away from it and try and improve. And even though people say, like, you don't judge sparring, yeah, you try to learn in sparring, and you try and develop. But if you're there, and you should be sparring well. I more so when I was a child, if I didn't spar well, I'd be annoyed with myself for the week. I'd be like, "Oh, I didn't spar that good today," or you'd be down from it. But as you get older, you kind of, I find, you have to get ready for the fight. So the spars aren't they wouldn't annoy me as much if I didn't spar well, but I still do like be competitive in the spars, and um I do judge them and see where I can improve, and what I did good and what I did bad, and yeah, so that's basically it. Yeah.
And obviously, how did the link up obviously with Ian Gallagher obviously come about? I think you're now his 12th. Obviously signing the stable. How does it sort of came about? Is it just sort of through time you sort of seen the opportunities to be able to get fighters? How is it sort of linked together?
Me and Ian, so I've been training in Unit 3 for the last few months. The boys up there, I just want to give them a big shout out as well. Niall, Arias, all the coaches up there, all the boxers. It's an incredible stable of boxers up there. We like Gary and Paul Lunham, who's about to make his debut. Adon Byrne as well. There's incredible. It's Kelsey Leonard, incredible stable of boxers coming through there as well, and coaches, great people. And Niall had said to me, because he knew I was looking to go pro, and at the start I was looking at England. Um, that's why I've been training in all the pro gyms in England. But I decided I'm going to stick with Ireland. Just for the fact, like, if you're trying to sell tickets in England constantly, my friends might come and support me once or twice, but they're not going to be able to keep coming over, and my family will come. But if you're taking 4 or 5 fights a year, regardless, that's going to cost them a lot of money. So let's we're going with Ireland at the minute. Who knows what the future holds? But yeah. So I was talking to Niall and explaining to him, look, I'm looking at going pro, and he brought me into the room, and we went through like all the benefits and things are going pro, the advantages and disadvantages, and he really went through everything with me, and he said, "Look, give Ian a text, whatever." I gave him a call, and we were talking for about an hour, and that was in like November. So it took a while for it all to come true, but it did, and we're very happy with it now. So we train in the same gym. He trains during the day. I train most evenings, and that's so we don't see each other every day or anything, but we'd be on the phone every day or um every second day. And he's a great guy, and I'm very happy to sign with him. And I've seen the opportunities he can give his boxers too, so I'm looking forward to it.
Obviously, Niall, somebody obviously I've known for quite a few years, obviously with Gary's career, and I've obviously known Ian as well. Like you've been given obviously really good probably advice from Niall. People sometimes will tell you this and tell you that about the sport, but they're not telling you the truth. And I know probably firsthand, Niall would have probably sat you down and said, worked out costs and things like that and things and go, is this really what you want to do? Rather than just say, oh, here, sign this bit of paper, or where you go. Made sure probably going pro was probably right for you rather than telling you a lie that you'll find it in the future.
Niall cares about the person first. He like whenever you have a conversation first, or sorry, with Niall, it's all about the person first. So he looks behind the boxer and to the person, and then the boxing comes second. So he's a really good guy, or a caring guy. Cares about his boxers. So he did exactly what you said. He broke down costs. He broke down different ways of going pro, or sorry, different things to look at when you're going pro. And we went through it, and yeah, he had a good conversation, and I decided I was going to do it, and he's helped me ever since.
Definitely a good man to have in anybody's corner.
Yeah.
Obviously, with obviously, as an amateur, sort of, you're more around the super welterweight division. Where are you sort of looking to campaign at, sort of going pro?
Um, I'm starting out more or less just under the welterweight division, and then looking at super light.
Super lightweight.
Yeah.
It's obviously, as you well know, with obviously boxing, obviously in Ireland, obviously it's massive at the moment. Like we're on the verge, obviously now Paul Doonan obviously makes a show in 9 days' time, his pro debut, but that's about the eighth show of the year. Like you're probably coming in the Irish boxing probably at the right time where there's shows left, right, and centre. There was shows in Galway. There's an upcoming show in Kerry. There's shows in Dublin, Belfast. Like you can get a show pretty much everywhere at the moment. So probably music to your ears that there's sort of different venues and different avenues for you to sort of get different experience on.
Exactly. There was a time there. I know you can't really count COVID, but before that, even there was shows getting cancelled left, right, and centre in Ireland. At one stage, but for the last couple of years, between Jay Byrne, Conlon Boxing, then you have other lads who are putting on shows. It's a great time because there's so many opportunities, and if one falls apart, there's going to be another one. You're thereabouts all the time. That's why another reason at the start I had been looking at England, and because there's more consistency at the time, but now is a great time in Ireland for professional boxing. Um, and I'm buzzing as well for Paul's debut. I can't wait for that next week. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it because me and Paul grew up boxing together since we're 12. We were on the Leinster squad together, 12 or 13, and he's been a friend ever since.
He's actually boxed as well, didn't he, in the amateurs?
We boxed twice. It's one apiece, but he beat me in the national final actually, and I think that we boxed in like 2015 and 2016 or a long time ago. And yeah, we train together now, so we're always helping each other in the gym. He'd say to me if I was hitting the pads or whatever, he'd be like, keep your right hand up after, or I'd say to him, turn it, just helping each other, because we're not going to compete. There's such a weight difference now, and yeah, it's great to have somebody like that, and that have that kind of buzz around the gym where everybody's helping everybody, and it's positive. Everything's positive. So I really believe I'm a big believer in positivity breeds success.
It's boxing's obviously one of them unique sports that obviously, like even when you're sparring someone as well, they're giving you help along the way. Like when you've obviously sparred, people at a really good level, you're getting help along the way. They're saying, "I'll do this and do that." Like there's no other sport like it.
No, there's no other sport, and it's great. Like even even when I boxed against people and they'd come to me after and they'd be like, "Oh, what do you think I should do differently, or what do you think?" And you tried. Like I when I was young and when I was sparring the older lads, especially in the gym, and maybe if they were like taking it light on me because there'd be a big age or weight advantage, they'd always give me little tips, and I remember like getting motivated by that. And like as I got older and I was sparring younger lads or whatever, I'd give them advice, and they'd look up to you, and I was that young lad as well who used to look up to people and take it from them. I'll never forget like when I was sparring TJ and TJ was world champion. I was just about to unify or fight for the unification with Daniel Roman, and I was sparring him, and he was giving me little tips and that motivated me massively. Like even him sending me them messages saying like make sure and stick at it, make sure and kind of go with it and follow your dreams and all. That's massive to me. Like, you know what I mean? I remember every morning when I get up and train, and the next day I'd be like, oh, I can't. Like that's what TJ's after. If TJ's saying it to me, you know what I mean? If TJ's after, so I really looked up to them local lads that were doing well, and because you kind of know them on a personal level as well as a boxer, that type of way. So yeah, it was massive.
What sort of goals have you sort of, I guess, you can nearly sort of ask sort of aspirations and things like that. Obviously, I like to sort of keep it more sort of manageable, sort of in the way, like sort of where have you set your goals sort of within the sport in the next couple of years, sort of, you probably maybe many sort of fights you're looking to have over the next 12 months?
Over the next 12 months, I'd like to get in about 3 or 4, couple of fours, maybe then into sixes, progress with every fight, um, see progression and see myself improving with every fight, and then hopefully get on a big show. And I'd love to bring a show to Laois. Since I was a child, I always wanted to share a card with TJ before he finished up. I think that would be class. But I remember I was like, oh, I'd love to be on his undercard, but if he wins on Monday, I might have him on my undercard in Laois. So I'm gonna tell him that as well.
Obviously, with obviously turning pro as well, you obviously have to market yourself. You obviously have to sell tickets and things like that as well. Is that something you're sort of looking forward to? I guess in some ways, where I've been able to help boxers in the past with selling tickets, it can build you a good friendship with people. So sort of, I guess anything that sort of helps to build the career of you advertising, obviously selling tickets, is something you look forward to.
Yeah, well, I've never really had to do it before because, like, you never really know how well you're going to do with selling tickets until you have to do it. So in the amateurs, you don't really need a big crowd at your fights, or that you're not having to pay your opponent or pay for this or pay for that. It's not costing you anything. So you rock up with your coaches and maybe the few people who might come. But in professional boxing, it's a lot different. Like you have to sell tickets to make money, and that is the truth of it. Like a lot of people think you get this big fee or something to sign. Well, it's not like that. Like I'd always say to my friends, lads, if it was up to me and you wanted to come and support me, I'd be giving you all the tickets. But it's not up to me. That's not the way it works. And I have a lot of good people around me, good friends who will support me. And I really look forward to having them big events, especially like a homecoming in Laois or something where I can sell, because I don't think there ever has been a professional boxing event in Laois. I think, as far as I'm aware, and I stand to be corrected as well, but I think it's only me and TJ that's ever went professional from Laois, which is mad, like, because there've been so many talented boxers, and there will be more in the future as well. But so I'd love to have that first professional show in Laois. I think that'll be huge.
It'd be nice to obviously, if you can follow obviously very closely in the footsteps behind what TJ's done, obviously as a pro. Obviously, a lot
Yeah,
of his fights have obviously been away and everything else, but obviously, if you're a few pound behind TJ at the very end, you'll have done very well.
yeah, he's really set the standard very high, hasn't he? But yeah, he's done amazing, and people don't realize how little percentage of people, or small few people, will actually become a world champion. Like, so if you look at how many people box in their lives, how many go on to become a world champion, probably, I don't know, 0.0001% or something, one in one in a million, I'd say. I don't know, but he's really set the standard high. But that's a motivator to me. That's not yeah, that's a motivator to see how well he's done and try and match that would be amazing. Yeah.
And And I guess obviously now it's sort of getting the news out there, obviously of a debut. Obviously, I don't want you sort of getting in trouble, sorry for mentioning anything, but when are you sort of hoping to make your professional debut?
Hoping to make it this summer on a big card. Ian's working there behind the scenes at the minute. So I can't really say too much about it or anything like that. But as soon as I am able to announce it, I'll be announcing it. So to get it out there and try and get as many people to support me as I can. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. But I'd love to be out this summer.
I'm sure obviously when Ian's watching this back, obviously when he gets to this point, he'll probably drop me a message and tell me when he's looking to get you out. But obviously, I think from obviously your article with Irish boxing, sort of saying about getting bus loads of people out, like do you think if obviously people's gonna get on a bus and travel somewhere to watch you fight, it's probably it'll be humbling for you in a way where you're going, the support that people are giving you, you can never be thankful enough for that.
Even the other day when I was after announcing it, I had to like really take a step back and say, wow, how many people are after messaging me and supporting me and commenting, and some of the top Irish professionals and some top English pro boxers were messaging me, and it was like, wow, like it's class, but that's where I want to be myself. So yeah, I'd always try my best to get back to everybody individually that's messaged me. I'd never just say thanks everybody, because I think if they've taken the time out of their day to message me and to contact me, it's only right that I do it back. Like, you know what I mean? So I never just say, oh, thanks everybody for the support. As much as sometimes I'd love that, I always try my best to get back to everybody. But it's been mad over the last few days. I'm still getting back to everybody, so it's class. And yeah, if I could get bus loads of people down to the fights, that'd be savage as well. And yeah.
It definitely probably shows the person that you sort of are, like not sort of naming anybody sort of in a way, but there's people out there that just sort of wouldn't respond in ways like if someone takes time out of your day, it's only right that you should do the same for them, and that sort of shows the person that you are, and I guess people all sort of buy into that very very quickly. Obviously, in professional boxing, when they see that you're a humble person and you're not looking ahead, you're sort of trying to keep yourself grounded.
100%, yeah. Like even the likes of some of my friends and that messaging me and saying, look, you're doing the town proud, you're doing Leash proud, or little things like that, they really stick with me. And when I'm training, and you don't want to get up in the morning, you don't want to do that session, you're like, I have something to prove to these people that are believing in me and are getting behind me. So I want to prove them, or want to make them proud as much as I want to make myself proud. So yeah, exactly like you said, it's a big motivator.
Yeah, it is. Well, look, obviously, we've come to the end of the sort of interview. Obviously, I can see the timer sort of coming to an end there. Obviously, I want to thank you for coming on, obviously having a chat with us and sort of getting to know you a bit more. We'll look forward to obviously you getting some fight news, and I'm sure we'll have you on again very, very soon.
Brilliant. Thanks very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Not a problem, Ken. Cheers. Take care.
Yeah. All right. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Thanks. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye.